Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world, and Mr. Warren Buffett has said,
"My life has been a product of compound interest."
So if there is at least one thing that you should try to learn and practice when it comes to your money and investment, then let it be this. Try to watch this video until the end as I show you exactly how you can take this powerful concept of compounding and apply it to your investment in stocks, bonds, and a mutual fund so that they can grow faster. Hey guys, and welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. If it's your first time seeing me, my name is Sujuti, and in this channel we talk all things personal finance, investing, and the financial market. So, compound interest. There's pretty good evidence to suggest that the idea behind compound interest dates back as far as 2600 BCE in a region called Sumer, modern-day Iraq. I read about its history and it was super fascinating. I won't go there today because this is not a history channel, but in simple terms, compound interest essentially means interest on interest. As Benjamin Franklin have said, money makes money, and the money that makes money makes money. Okay, before I lose you or myself, let's get right into the formula. I think that will explain it better. Basically, interest rate can be calculated in two main ways, simple and compound. These are the formula for simple and compound interest. As you can see, the main difference is where T is placed in the formula. So the time period that you're investing for. In compound interest, it is placed on top as power, hence the name power of compounding, which you may have heard before. If you were to graph or chart this formula using other numbers, you will see that it is an exponential chart and it won't be a simple straight line. There are a lot of things that actually grows exponentially. A really good example would be the number of cases of COVID-19. You may have noticed that when it first came about, it was growing quite exponentially. This is the reason why we had lockdowns and the governments were trying super hard to reduce the amount of time that the virus had to kind of spread. Because higher the T, remember in the power, the faster or more aggressively it is able to grow. Thank God compounding also works more positively when it comes to our money and investment. And I'll show you exactly how. We're going to take a hypothetical example of someone, maybe you, who want to invest about £10,000 in a stock or a fund that pays 5% dividend yield as income. Now you have two options with this investment. You can either take out the 5% income every year, or you can reinvest that income back into your investment. In order to maximize your £10,000 investment, there are three main things that you must do. And at the end of talking about these three things, I'll show you exactly what type of stocks or funds to pick so that you can get the maximum benefit of compounding. Number one, reinvest that 5% dividend yield back into your investment. So you're likely to get about £500, so 5% of £10,000, and take that money to buy back the same fund or stock. And watch what happens to your money after 20 years. Notice how the growth in your investment is happening exponentially. So in other words, your money is working hard to make some more money for yourself. How great is that? Number two, invest for a meaningfully long amount of time. Notice what happens to this graph when you extend your investment horizon from 20 years to 30 years. Notice how the gap between two lines keep getting bigger. That's essentially because compounding is like snowball. The longer you leave it, the longer you let it roll, the bigger it gets. Number three, start early. I mean, really early, as soon as you can. I mean, even start right after watching this video if you haven't started to invest already. And I'll tell you why. With an example. I think examples work better. At least I find it easier to follow examples. So here's an example of two investors, Investor X and Investor Y. Investor X started investing at the age of 25 and invested 5K every year for 20 years. Investor Y started to invest at the age of 35 and also invested 5K every year, but for 30 years. both investors want to be able to withdraw their investments for retirement from the age of 65. Assume an average rate of growth in investment of 5% per year. I want you to guess who will have the most money by the age of 65. The result may shock you. Okay, the results are in. Pay close attention to this chart. It took me some time to figure out what was actually going on, and my spreadsheet was going a little crazy at this point. The answer is investor X has more money in her account even though she only invested for 20 years compared to investor Y who invested for 30 years. I found this really powerful. I think this graph really highlights the importance of starting to invest early. While making this chart, I was thinking it would be quite interesting to know at what age did everyone else started to invest. So I started at the age of 25. How about you? Let me know in the comment section below if you're okay to share that. Okay, let's now talk about the criteria to use to pick the best investment for your portfolio so that the power of compounding can really do its magic. So before giving you examples of stocks and funds, I think it will be a good idea to kind of refresh this formula in our mind, which is the total return of our investment. The total return of our investment is equal to capital return plus the income return or the dividend return. As you would know, capital return is essentially the change in price of the investment, such as stock. So for example, if you bought a stock with the price of £15 and it went up to 20, then it means that you would have a capital return of 33%. However, if the stock also paid out a dividend with an yield of about 5%, then that means you had an income return of 5%. So to get the total true return of your investment, you have to add 33 plus 5 to get total return from that investment. Okay, as promised, let's get back to the criteria of stocks or a fund to invest in. When it comes to single stock, look for a company that pays out a dividend. Because if you don't have any income or dividend, then there is nothing really left for you to reinvest back into your investment. Very simple. What I can add though is if you do invest in a dividend paying company, if you focus on companies that are actually growing their dividends year on year, that's going to work in favor when it comes to compounding. Because guess what? If dividends are growing, so are your investments, right? So when you do actually get dividends, which is usually paid as cash into your brokerage account, you can do two things. You can either set up a system with your brokerage firm to automatically reinvest that dividend back into the investment. They will usually charge you a fee. Or you can let that money accumulate until it becomes quite meaningful, like big large number, so that you can use that money and buy back the stocks manually, like you would do if you were to just buy the stock. So yeah, that's with the stocks. Now, when it comes to mutual funds, or an index fund. It can be an equity fund, so those funds that invest in company stocks or shares, or it can be a bond fund that invests in government bonds or company bonds, which is called credit. When you go about to invest in these funds, there are usually two types of share classes that the brokerage account or the company that you're investing in will show you. One is called the accumulating share class, the other one is called the income share class. Make sure you pick the accumulating share class. The reason is very simple. With that share class, what the company will do is that they will automatically reinvest your incomes or dividends back into your investment. With the income share class, they will give out or pay you out the income as cash, which you don't want to do because ultimately you want to grow your money through the power of compounding. A good proxy of an equity fund that shows you the power of compounding would be the S&P 500 Dividend Aristocrat Index, or the fund. A lot of fund actually follows that index. So this index or fund is essentially a subset of S&P 500, but it only holds companies that were able to grow their dividend every year straight for last 25 years. So they only hold companies that grows their dividend basically. But unlike S&P 500, this index or a fund is equally weighted. So every company that's listed in this fund has the same weight. So at the moment, I think they have about 65 holding or company in this index, and each of them weights about 1.5%. When you compare the performance of this index to the overall market, so S&P 500, which is one of the largest performing market, as we all know, you can really appreciate that the role that dividend plays when it comes to our total return over a very long time. Okay, now I want to give you a magic number before I leave. But before I give you that number, can I please remind you, hit that beautiful like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And do let me know if you find my videos helpful in any shape or form. It's basically going to stop me procrastinating and create more content if you want to see them in the future, basically. Okay, that's out of the way. Look, I understand. I'm also on the same boat that when it comes to these formulas and all this rule, it can get quite confusing and hard to remember. But if you want to answer a very simple question like how long will it take me to double my money using the power of compounding, then use the rule of 72. So 72 is the magic number. So for example, say you have an investment that is expected to return you about 10% per year. Divide 72 by 10. It will give you 7.2. It is the amount of years that will take you to basically double your money using the power of compounding. This rule was introduced by Luca Pacioli, I hope I got his name right, in his book in the year 1492. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching. Until next time, look after yourself and your money.